Hey, cunts, don't forget to click the subscribe button.
No, we're talking about Pixar.
Okay, good. So, what, you know...
I think, first of all, it's very interesting because when at the QLA we watched the film about Steve Jobs, how he got thrown out of Apple. Right? It ties in very nicely when we study this case. So we talk about 1985, Steve Jobs left Apple, which is got thrown out. And
with a pocket full of money.
Yes.
How much?
The saying that you're going to get thrown out, because you're all going to get thrown out. Maybe Dan won't, but all the rest of you are going to get thrown out. But if you follow the steps with a pocket full of money, no, a boatload full of money.
How much was Steve worth it when he was thrown out of Apple?
A couple hundred, 200, 250 million, something like that. I don't, no money for a Dutchman, I understand. That's chump change, I understand that.
You can barely live on that. And then 1986, so he bought the Lucasfilms and then later turned into Pixar, which is also pretty amazing. I'm just guessing, I want to get Dan's feedback. Was he trying to, because when we studied case study, he was trying to build a computer, hardware, software company. It seems like he wants to try to get back to Apple. Like it's like
he wanted to get back to what he's loved, you know, and he wanted to also his ego hadn't healed from getting thrown out, and it didn't make him feel any better that the Apple ran into trouble after they got rid of him. They didn't have his vision, etc.
That's his baby.
But his scars hadn't healed. You know, as far as he was concerned, he had a cesarean, and it was open still. His belly was open, and and so he was able to, and through his gift, if you will, he was able to see Pixar thrive and flourish, because he was a smart fucker. I mean, just. The last time I saw him was in Bangalore, India. We were at a rich club, the members-only kind of club, and he was dancing with himself in the dance floor through song after song after song, and the music stopped. They're closing the place down. 1:30. He's still dancing in the middle of the fucking dance floor. You know how we saw Rafferty when he's gone? That's exactly how Steve looked. But he didn't have a thing up there. He was in his own fucking world. He was in a different world. Now, whether he's an alien, like people say, and there's some of these other, Tesla was an alien and all these guys, but he was a gifted fucker. He was a gifted fucker. And he turned to Buddha late in his life, although he did go to India and he did go to... But I mean, he wasn't into Buddha like at the end of his life. He and Buddha were tight, okay? And there's a story that his stepsister, who was there when he died, and he said 2 or 3 things. One, he says, I hope it's not like just the light switch went off. In other words, there's nothing, you know, when you're dead. And then 4 or 5 minutes later, some people say he was coherent, some people say he was incoherent. And he said, his eyes started to close, and he said, wow, wow, wow. Now, did he see the, I don't know what that means, whether he saw the light or not, but you know, it's like my 240 nuns, I got during the holiday season, I get I got all kind of shit, you know, from the nuns, making sure that we're going to say the priest is going to say another homily for me. Now, space. 15, 20 years ago, when the Pope before the Nazi Pope, who was the Pope before the Nazi Pope? Whoever that Pope was, he was sick, and the church, Catholic Church, asked Catholics worldwide to pray for him. They got pictures from space where, you know, big central places like Manila, where there's a lot of Catholics, there was like a glow on the earth from the prayer, the energy of the prayers. Now, whether you believe, you Google it, and there's, you know, and I'm sure every goddamn Filipino and every Spaniard in these different places, there's a glow. So I'm a believer that I keep supporting them, and they keep praying for me. Now they say they support me even if I didn't. They pray for me even if I didn't support them financially. I'd like to think that, but
Just in case. Just in case. Money talks.
Just in case.
Yes. So what's interesting is at a time, because it's just 2D filmmaking, which is Walt Disney, what they've been doing for many, many years, Pixar was the first company that introduced the 3D technology. So that was disruptive for sure. And then, of course, after the first film of the Toy Story is very successful, that's when Disney kind of paid some attention. I found it very fascinating. There's one section that Steve Jobs we talked about Steve Jobs. He said it took Steve Jobs 10 years to combine the techie with the creative people. And he said it was very difficult, culture-wise, to do that. And Steve Jobs said it was difficult for him. So I think that was pretty amazing. What do you guys think? Marcel, you were saying about also the leadership.
Well, what do you mean leadership?
Like how he's able to turn it around.
Well, it was just an interesting part that basically he himself, as a person who must understand both of that, right? You said about the visionary, and on the other hand, like the actual technical knowledge, to basically get them integrated and to talk to each other, because that seemed to be like a big issue in the beginning. To combine like two strategically important factors of success to get this company back running.
To get techies, which are commonly for suits like myself, call them just used to be nerds, and now they don't call them the nerds. But to get the techies to respond or adhere to just number culture, forget the how you look or how you talk, but just being accountable by numbers. It's not impossible, but it's hard. Because most of these guys grew up in the garage writing code, and nobody tells them when to get up, when to go to bed, how much code to write. And so to get them to be responsible in a corporate way is difficult. And when the Disney guys were called suits. They were professional managers at the top. They were called suits. And there were people, but they sold on Donald Duck, Mickey Mouse, and all the cartoon characters. But there were cartoons going around where they showed a Donald Duck like a dinosaur mouth with these teeth, because, they would rip your fucking heart out. They were hard. And they showed Minnie Mouse like a prostitute, whore, okay? And now they'd be lawsuits. In fact, there were lawsuits then. So to bring that culture of suits to Pixar, and even though Steve was a hard taskmaster, he had to allow the artsy-craftsy, airy-fairy-ness to get productivity out of him was tough. It was in that regard. But of course, hindsight's 20/20. Now you look back and see all the money they made. But at the time, I wouldn't do the deal.
How he structured the deal, right? That is what we found pretty interesting, and we want to talk about that.
So in 1997, Disney bought 5% of Pixar after they went public, after the IPO. $50 million for 1 million shares, with the warn to buy an extra 1.5 million shares.
Which was not a lot, right, Mr. Peña? Like 5% is just like a teaser or something, right? Then
it feels like an insurance policy. It feels like, these guys are doing something interesting. Let's throw some money just in case they kind of take off.
Well, now they would call this incubator funds.
Yeah.
We're going to put 25 million in this. We're going to put 50 million in this, just in case.
This grows.
Yeah. But a lot of those 5% investments turned to nothing.
Yeah.
Nobody talks about those investments. This one turned out to be 5% of something terrific, and then essentially they bought the other 95%. But the one thing that most of you have got to remember, their real cost is reduced by 5% because they own 5%. their real cost because they're paying themselves back.
Oh yeah, because they own. Okay.
Yeah.
So what is that called? Like in terms of financial technique, like what's that called?
Not, well, it's
So it's like free money.
yeah. Some people accomplish the same thing by having warrants attached. Warrants, which is like an option, a separate class of security that if the deal goes well, we have the right to buy at least part of, if not all, of the rest of your company. But there's no financial word to describe the tool. But what it is you got to realize they probably made 100 5% investments. This one worked out, and the rest didn't. I still remember when Disney opened up in the summer of 1955. I was 10 years old, and because my dad was a cop, we got free tickets. Otherwise, I would have never gone. Because A through E tickets in those days cost $15. That means you could ride all the rides in Disneyland for $15. Okay, now it's $200, $300, $400. Of course, then a Coke was 25 cents. I don't think you can buy anything for 25 cents anymore. But they filled up, as I told the last group, half to 2/3 of the people that went to Disneyland that opening day were free. But they couldn't afford to be empty. You understand the concept, right?